Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Welcome to our live stream show. Sorry for running a little late tonight. It was a little bit of a technical difficulty with the internet, but luckily we have multiple internet streams and it paid off tonight. It paid dividends because we would not be having a show right now if we did not have a backup internet service here at the studio. So thankfully Josh thought ahead and was able to act quickly, and we're back up and running. So welcome to the Sunday Night Live Stream Show. It is Sunday night, March 3rd, and we are going to be talking fishing for an hour here, chatting a little bit about what's going on now, what's coming up, answering your questions, and more. Hopefully, you have some questions for us. Right below is the phone number. You can text us your question live during the show. Remember, you do have to text in your question if you want it answered live during the show, because the comments, they go really fast. I don't always see the comments, especially if you're watching on Trovo, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, one of the other Facebook pages. It's kind of hard to keep track of all the different comments across all the different platforms that we're streaming to. So if you have a question you want answered live during the show, make sure you text it in to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Also, who wants to win some free stuff? We give away $1,500 in free stuff every single Sunday night during these live stream shows that are every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Now, we're going to be giving away a 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2, a 39-hour trip for 1, and a Hubbard's Marina swag pack. All you have to do to be entered for a chance to win tonight is comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch on Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page, you can watch wherever you want on any platform, but you have to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. So comment once, anything you want, hello, hi, where you're from, it doesn't matter. Comment once, you're entered for a chance to win. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch wherever you want. Just make sure you comment once so you're entered to win. And then throughout the show, randomly, we'll pull up on the screen our random name picker, and it'll pick one lucky winner. We'll announce it verbally, and then you have 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip that we announced verbally by texting us your full home address to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. So that's how it works. You comment once to enter, then you watch the show live, the entire show. Randomly, we'll pick out a name, and then you have 5 minutes or less to claim it and prove you're watching live by texting us your full home address to the bottom of the screen, the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. This show is brought to you by our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinolles Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by to see our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, you're missing out. Again, 3301 Pinolles Point Drive South in St. Pete. Awesome people, crazy selections, amazing deals, and really, really, really cool tackle shop. So stop by, say hello, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, and the young angler that you bring with you gets a free gift. So stop by and say hello. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to our supporters who make the show possible as well, who help fuel the shows. The supporters group, we have our weekly after show. So after every live show, we do another show in our private supporters group. It's only $4.99 a month. You get access to that private after show and a bunch more value for less than $5 a month. So think about joining the supporters group if you're interested. Josh just put the link in the chat there on our Facebook page. It's also on our website as well. So check it out, hubbardsmarina.com, and you can find the supporters info. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to all the star senders out there tonight. We had a bunch of star senders getting us kicked off right. Angie Darling, what's going on? Eric Seberg, what's up, buddy, with the big 500. Brian Eakins, what's up, my friend? Don Schuett, we appreciate those 400, my man. Congrats on being a new grandfather, by the way, Don Schuett. Larry White, Ryan Welser, Richard Harcourt, Charles Carter, Holly Pet? Is that an F or a P? That's an F, isn't it? Dude, my eyesight's going. I noticed I have a white hair, or a couple white hairs that appeared in my beard today too. It's kind of a day ruiner a little bit. Not a ruiner, but put it all in perspective, and now I'm struggling to read these words, which is not cool. So life is becoming really real right now. We're going to go with Molly Fett. Richard,
is this 30?
Richard Harcourt, what's up, buddy? Scott Flynn, Ralph Driscoll, Adam Franklin with the big 500. Thanks, man. Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200. Appreciate you, brother. What's up, LaShonda with 400. Thank you. Phil Batisto, Sam Lang with a big 450. Aaron, Luke, and Dan Netto. Appreciate y'all and all the stars who helped fuel the show, make the show possible. Appreciate it very much. Senior moments. That's right, Tim McCardle. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate your support there. And Josh is now making the font comically large, so it's all fun and games until
somebody gets fired.
So we talked about Gator Gyms, our star senders, our supporters, how to win trips. Want to make sure we encourage you guys also to comment. Make sure you comment whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Trovo, Twitch. It doesn't matter. Give us a comment. Also, throughout the week, if you see us post something, it really helps when you like and comment, when you interact with anything we post. Some of you guys do it really, really well. I mean, Tim McCardle, shout out to you. I think you comment on almost everything we post, which is hugely helpful because what that does is it shows engagement, and then it helps to show it to more people. So we stay high in that social media algorithm, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok. If you see something that you like, a company that you like, a friend, a small business owner that you like, make sure you like their post, comment on it if you have a second, and it's a really good way to help support and help kind of spread the word, and it costs you nothing, just a millisecond of your time. So help us whenever you see anything, like, comment, share, or just like it. If you could do that, that's awesome. So we really appreciate it. Also, want to make sure we get into the photos and show you guys a little bit about what we're catching inshore. Then we're going to work our way nearshore and offshore. Then we're going to get into the weather, a few announcements, might hear from Capt. Mike Anderson, and then your questions. That's kind of how these shows roll. So first things first, let's start inshore and see what we're catching inshore. Starting off with our buddy Dan the Fishman and his pompano. The pompano bite has been good at John's Pass certain days, and then it kind of switches around. Pompano are one of those fish where you'll catch them at John's Pass on the North Jetty one day. You're, oh, this is awesome, great fishing. Then the next day they're gone. Then 3 days later, you're standing on your left leg, rubbing your tummy, and the pompano show back up. They're a strange fish. They move around a lot. They're very hard to kind of dial in on because they do move so much. But they're really good eating. They're fun to catch. They're fun to target. So one of those things, go out there, throw the pompano lure, see if they're around, give it 10, 15 minutes. If they're not around, stick and move. You can also look for them. My buddy from Dogfish Tackle, I saw him at the John's Pass jetty getting his electric bike off his truck. And he rides down the beach with really nice polarized glasses on clear days where the water's clear, and he'll ride his electric bike down the water's edge with his fishing pole strapped to his back like a rifle. And he's looking for those pompano schools as they move through the trough. So when he finds the fish, hops off the electric bike, gets out in front of them, and then waits for them to come to him. So kind of a strategic, tactical approach to pompano beach fishing. And it's that time of year for sure. We get into the pompano action and the beach pompano action for sure. So it's a lot of fun. Plus the beach snook fishing. We're on the doorstep of that beach snook action time. We're going to get into that here in a minute as well. So excited. Huge numbers of sheep's head still as well. This is a good time to get out and go get those sheep's head. Oh, that's Captain John Gunter. I wonder what he's doing in our photos. This must be from Salt Strong. Someone must have done a charter with him. And we got these photos from Salt Strong Community. But Captain John definitely puts you on the meats. Some big sheep's head lately around docks, piers, bridges, jetties, rock piles. All good areas to look for those sheep's head. The big nasties, that's what this fish is affectionately nicknamed. It is a big black drum. People call them big nasties. They fight hard, and they love eating crabs around bridges. Dead crabs. You can even cut a crab in half. Works really well. Biggest black drum I ever caught was on a huge, dead, rotten shrimp. I had soaking on the bottom near the Hubbard's Marina main dock, kind of towards the end. And I actually got hung up on something, had to like climb up on these metal poles that are on the right side or starboard side of the Florida. Had to climb way up there and untangle it and then threw it in the water, and then had to climb back down. And it took me so long to climb back down without falling in the water. I was close. I was pretty young. But by the time I got back to my fishing pole, it was almost getting pulled off the dock because one of these big black drum had grabbed that nasty, rotten, dead shrimp that was just sitting there on the bottom. So that was the biggest one I ever caught. And they're like that around the bridges too. A lot of bridges locally. Flounder action going well. We're seeing a lot of flounder. Kind of hit and miss like the pompano. They'll stay in an area. Once you find one, there's generally more around, but they are a little spotty. Redfish action going real well throughout the area. This is a good time to kind of capitalize on the concentrated redfish action. They're going to start to spread out and become a little bit more tricky to target in good numbers and good concentration. So redfish action going well now. Snook are fired up, y'all. It is an exciting time of year right now. Inshore, nearshore, and offshore. This is one of those times where I can say it is my favorite time to go fishing. I've been fishing 4 times this week. It is a good time to get out there on the water. Everything is fired up, inshore, nearshore, and offshore, because this is that time of year where we have the mixing happen, the transition period where we have the cold weather tolerant species, the cold weather patterns start to overlap with some of those warmer weather patterns, and it's definitely a good time to get out there and go fishing. Oh, our local sheriff is commenting in the comments and saying electric bikes are illegal on Madeira Beach. Well, I just ratted someone out. Good thing I didn't use his name. He was pedaling it. He wasn't using the electric motor. That's what we're going to go with.
I think he was walking it.
He was walking it. That's what happened. I guess you'd have to be caught, too. Just kidding. I didn't say that. But as I was saying, definitely a good time of year to go out there because these fish are starting to mix. You have the snook. Those are more of a warm weather fish. We see a lot of snook around our area spring and summer. They hang out in big numbers around Johns Pass in the spring and summer. And then in the cooler months, they retreat to the upper bay and back bay waters trying to stay warm. So they head to the rivers, the creeks, the bayous. We don't see the snook in the wintertime. So we haven't seen big numbers of snook around the dock in months. Now, I can officially say today that has changed. If you watched our TikTok page today, which hopefully you're all subscribed to Hubbard's Marina on TikTok, hopefully you're following us there. But if you saw our TikTok page today, you saw the snook action. It is fired back up. We also posted it on our Instagram account too. But definitely the snook are back in Johns Pass, and it's going to get better and better and better as that water warms. This week we have some really warm weather. Can we play that video? Does that work? Let's see. It's the snook are back one. Should I go to Pip? You ready? Oh, nice. It does work. There you go. You can see it. Is the sound playing? No, it is not. But good timing. We just finished the Inshore report. We're showing the snook video, and who calls but Capt. Mike Anderson. It's like he knew we were talking about how excited we are with this spring fishery. And we could just play this video on loop and watch the snook play. What's up, Capt. Mike? You there, buddy? He's coming on. But as you can see, this was this morning at the dock. I was throwing some shrimp in there, and the snook were just super fired up. And they were chasing the shrimp on the surface. I threw some pinfish in. They went nuts. Got them all worked up, and they were super easy to catch. Mike, what's up, buddy?
How are you, dog?
I'm doing well, man. Just another beautiful Sunday night sitting here watching the snook play from our TikTok video this morning. That's why I was kind of late calling the radio show this morning, is we were playing around with the snook.
I don't blame you. They're fun.
Yeah, yeah, and it was crazy, like an aquarium. It was like a milky green colored water, so you couldn't really see the fish. But
Right.
I had a feeling like something was watching me, and so I took a net full of shrimp and tossed it out there, and I was expecting to see some snook rise up on these shrimp, and the shrimp hit the water and kind of meandered on the surface, and I was like, dang it. They're not here yet. I got my hopes up for nothing, and they started to sink a little bit. And as the shrimp started to sink out of view, dude, the snook rose up and just lit up and started hammering them all. And I was like, oh, they're
Nice.
here. And proceeded to throw a couple more netfuls of shrimp and got them all fired up. And it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, that's my goal for this week. Play with the snook. Play with the snook. Play with the snook.
It is that time. It's crazy. I mean, is this fake spring? Is this fake summer where we a lot of times we'll see these big warming trends and then all of a sudden we'll get a little cold front and it kind of slows down that process again and kind of sets us back a little bit. I'm wondering if that's the case because it seems just too early for all this to be kind of popping off. I mean, reports of limits of mackerel at the Skyway and at the Fort DeSoto piers. So people already getting all those mackerel, already seeing all the snook in the pass. It just seems early, huh?
Yeah, it does seem a little early, and I think the big fear for me is always that it'll do that is that we won't get a couple of cold fronts because you really need those cold fronts to kind of slow things down a little bit because they're starting to come, they're starting to get their wiggle on a little bit, which is good. But in a perfect world, it happens in little bunches. You know what I mean? Like right now, the mackerel and all that are showing up because the bait showed up.
Yeah.
Water temp got right. The bait showed up. Of course, the mackerel are going to show up. That makes sense. The snook are starting to poke the nose out because, again, that water temp is right. Things are looking sexy to them, so they're on the move a little bit. But we talked about this a little bit this morning. You know, there's always I don't know the right way to put it, but there's always there's a big push, and everybody's like, oh, okay, all the snook are out front. Not all of them. There's always some fish that take their time, that kind of meander, yeah. And that's really what you want. You want some fish to kind of meander out of the back. You don't want them just all to roll out of there at one time because then it all happens in 2-3 weeks and it's over. They're all on the beach, and your big push to the beach is over. So, hopefully, I always hope for a couple of. Obviously, we don't want them to be terrible cold fronts.
Yeah.
But we could use a couple of, spinners kicking that water temp back down to 65, 66 degrees just to kind of send a message that, hey, we're not ready for full-blown summer yet. Cool your jets.
And it kind of prolongs.
Usually we get that. Yeah, prolong the spring.
Yeah. So if it warms up too fast and stays warm, the spring can kind of happen fast. All the fish pour out of the back, the transition happens, and all of a sudden we're in summer. Whereas if we get a couple more cold fronts, kind of like the weather is set up right now, is almost looking kind of optimal. We have a 5-6 day stretch of warming. It gets into the mid 80s a couple days. And then this weekend, potentially, we might have that front that brings things back down, at least air temperatures into the mid 60s. We haven't gotten to the weather report yet, but there's a little teaser of what's to come. And that could potentially essentially be a good thing for this kind of spring fishery trend is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's good for two species in particular. I think it's really good for the snook bite, and I think it's good for the kingfish because otherwise them kingfish will blow right through here, and we won't have them very long. It's nice if the weather just kind of gives us this 72-ish degree water for a month or so. Let those fish get in here, settle in a little bit, play with that bait. Nice. Yeah, I mean it's for me, it always bums me out when those kingfish kind of blow through, and especially if they do it in March because March is normally pretty windy, and it's tough to get where I like to get in my bay boat sometimes with my customers. And I love, kingfish breaks up everything. We start snook fishing a little bit, and the kingfish come, and you got something else to go do, so you're not snook fishing and red fishing and trout fishing every day. You got something to mix in there a little different. And if they just blow through, for me, it just makes for a really, really long spring because we just kind of snook and redfish all the way through.
And it grinds.
So, yeah, it does grind out a little bit. So, just hoping for hoping for, again, these 5 days, I'm excited. I want to get some work in, take some people fishing. I got a show to shoot down at South Seas on Friday. So, looking for some great action, and then it could pump the brakes just a little bit for us. That would be okay.
Slow it down
Pump
a
the
little
brakes.
bit. I get
Yeah,
it.
slow it down a little bit. Yeah, let's not get too crazy. But it's coming. We know it's coming. So
yeah, and this time of year you have those transition periods, those overlaps too, because you still are crushing sheep's head on the big rock piles. You still got a lot of stuff going on there too, huh?
Yeah, there really is. There's a lot of stuff at the bridges. The pompano bite's still really good. There's some small permit around as well, so that's really good. I know Captain Rick Gross was talking that he had some customers get on his boat, wanted to go pompano fishing, so he took them pompano fishing and couldn't find any, but found the permit.
Nice.
So yeah. Sorry, no pompano. Well, hopefully these permit will do. And little chunkers, just like catching pompano. So very very cool to see those. I saw some pictures from some other people that did kind of the same thing. So there's a lot of stuff to go do as it warms up. We're going to get some triple tail and some other things will just kind of drop into our lap a little bit. That mackerel bite, big Spanish mackerel bite out there on the beach is always fantastic when that beach loads up out there with bait. So, this is a great time of year because there's just so much to go do.
I feel like we see more triple tail in the spring, but they get a little bit smaller. In the winter, we get triple tail, but they're bigger, I feel like.
I think that's probably correct.
Yeah.
I think that is probably correct. And that's one of those, we could have a whole evening show on triple tail. That's one of those fish, I think, that are getting punished up pretty good because so many people have figured out how to find them, and then when they catch them, they eat them.
Yeah.
So it gets tougher and tougher to catch big triple tail,
There's a discussion going on at the Golf Council, and even I've heard rumblings at FWC about the fact that triple tail is becoming more commercially viable as well. So there's a lot of places serving triple tail. And as it becomes more demanded for restaurants, it also gets more commercial pressure. So that's also a conversation that's going on because it's not one of those fish that is regulated heavily. People are keeping an eye on that one for sure.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me. That's I didn't figure it'd be long before that was on the radar. Mm-hmm. So many guys using that to fill coolers here the last couple of years with some of the closures and some of the other stuff going on with snook, redfish, and trout. So it was only a matter of time before we kind of boogered that up and had to take a real good look at it, make sure we don't overfish it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Got to keep an eye out on them. So,
yes, sir.
This week's all about snook, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've got the Tampa Bay Lightning Coops catch tomorrow. I got 32 boats running out of downtown with players and coaches. Wayne Gretzky's in town. He's going to be there. Tino Martinez is going to be there. Rondé Barber is going to be there, raising money for pediatric cancer.
Nice.
Beth and I did the little cocktail party deal tonight. Your buddy Charlie Belcher was the MC.
Nice.
So tomorrow will be fun. We'll get raise a bunch of money for some youngsters with cancer, which is always a great and fulfilling day. And then I got some charters, and then like I said, I got to be down at South Seas Friday to film a show with Nick Fisher and Captain Lisa Fitzgerald. Her and I are both going to be on that episode, so that'll be fun. Yeah, I would think some snook, some redfish, and some big trout will all be on the menu. Yeah. I haven't talked to Nick yet, but unless we get a glassed out day, if we get a glassed out day, then I'm pretty sure we'll push Nearshore and do some fishing out there if I had to guess. So again, we might be permit fishing if we get lucky. If the glass is out, we could end up on the permits, which
especially
really
at South Seas, which is down there south of us. That's like north side of Boca Grande, right?
It's south of Boca Grande. It's Captiva.
South of Boca Grande. So that far south, you're going to see those permit and potentially even kingfish way, way before we would here in Tampa Bay. Before. So
if we can get the right weather, I'd be shocked if Nick doesn't, say, hey, bring some big rods just in case we get the chance to go play.
Nice. So
that's happened to us before filming South Seas this time of year. It's just such a fishy place there on the Nearshore side that, we've had some really special permit bites down there. So fingers crossed. They're up there on my list of fish that I love to catch. So hopefully I'll be sending you a picture of a big permit on Friday.
That's awesome.
That'd be very cool. Yeah, man.
Well, I look forward to it, brother.
Cool. All good, my friend. All good. How's the weather look? You gonna get the big boats out there? Do your thing this week?
It looks good. We got a super light load there Tuesday, and they're going to be able to fish right ahead of a potential front. So fishing should be really good for that Tuesday light load 39-hour. We got a lot of good weather coming up here this week, and that's next on the agenda once we run through these nearshore photos, is showing people what to expect weather-wise, and it's an exciting time of year.
No doubt. No
Yes,
doubt.
sir.
Well, I appreciate the time, brother. You the man.
All right, man.
Good show as always.
Appreciate you, Mike. Thanks for calling.
All right, partner. Talk soon.
See you, buddy. That actually kind of worked, us being a little late. Mike calling, that hit that inshore segment perfectly. So now that we've covered inshore side of things, we're going to work nearshore, show you guys what we've been catching nearshore. Then we're going to get into the weather a little bit and announcements, and then your questions. Remember, if you have a question, got to text your question in to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. So nearshore, have you guys heard we're catching hogfish? I feel like I say that all the time, every day, multiple times. But it is true. We are catching some hogfish. I went out there Tuesday on the 10-hour trip, and we caught almost 20 keeper hogfish. The bite was a little bit slow overall. I had to work for it a little bit, but because the bite was slow on other more aggressive species, like, say, white grunts, we didn't see a ton of white grunts. It allowed things like these big hogfish, this big lane snapper and the hogfish to bite more easily. They weren't competing with the gray snapper. So we got a lot of lane snapper. We got a couple mangrove snapper. We got a good number of hogfish. We had a lot of those throwback gag groupers as well. So it was a good time Tuesday on the 10-hour trip. And as I mentioned, mackerel are already showing up into our area. So it's that time of year we're going to start trolling on our 5-hour half days and trolling on the way out on our longer trips, and we'll see a lot of those mackerel coming up. Kingfish will follow behind, generally a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks behind the mackerel. So the mackerel show up real heavy, then we'll see kingfish a few weeks later. Gag grouper bite has been really good, and unfortunately kind of catching and releasing those gag grouper right now, but still fun to catch them regardless. Have some good times and some good battles, and release them healthy, ready to rock and roll on our descending devices from returnthemright.org. Also, some nice big mangrove snapper. The mangrove snapper action has been steady for us offshore. Our last 39-hour was definitely tougher than we would have liked, but the first 39-hour of the year, the 44-hour trip, they both did really well on a steady mangrove snapper bite. The last 39-hour, like I mentioned, was a little bit tough. Weather made it challenging, and honestly, the area that we chose, which is typically really good for red grouper and mangroves, got invaded by red snapper kind of unexpectedly. So we kept sticking and moving, trying to get out of those red snapper, and they made it really, really tricky on us. So the red snapper has definitely been a little bit of a challenge as they move around post-red snapper season. Trying to avoid those guys is a full-time job offshore sometimes. But we did have a good nighttime mangrove snapper bite, even on that slower trip. And then during the day bite was just a little bit of a challenge. We are seeing a lot of the red grouper. Red grouper action is going well for us on our 12-hour extreme trips. On our 39-hour trips, we're picking a few of the red grouper, and definitely seeing a handful on the 10-hour all-day trip as well. Now, 10-hour all-day is where we stay a little shallower and do well on the hogfish. We don't see as many red groupers, whereas like today's 10-hour all-day went deeper. Captain James took the boat a little bit further, fished much deeper than we normally fish, or at least we have been fishing on the 10 hours, and they did well on the red grouper. We'll have some photos for you next week from that, but they didn't get the hogfish. So it's kind of an either or almost on the 10 hour. Do we target the red grouper or do we target the hogfish? And we like switching it up occasionally and doing a little bit of one or the other. Sometimes we'll run a little deep, try to target the red grouper, and then we'll pop inshore for the hogfish. So it just depends on what the weather's doing and what's going on as far as the variables and conditions. But overall, definitely seeing more of those red grouper as we get closer to that 100-foot mark, 120, 140 foot, and definitely doing better as we get further offshore for the red grouper action. But we're seeing nice red groupers, some solid scamp grouper action, and triggerfish have opened as of Friday. Triggerfish opened up. So we've got triggerfish back open. Plenty of other species to catch as well, so a good time to get out there and capitalize on the great weather, which we're going to talk about now. Let's talk about the weather. We've hinted at it a few times and kind of verbally told you, but I want to show you. Go to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, second one down, weather links. That's going to take you to our weather links page. Right here, wind finder forecast, 5 and 10 hour forecast area is where we're going to start, the Egmont Key buoy, and you can clearly see some moderate wind conditions looking good all week long. We get a little bit of a pickup in the wind Tuesday, but not too badly. So today, gorgeous. Tomorrow, beautiful. And Tuesday, it picks up a little bit out of the east. We got a little bit of a high pressure kind of around the area, frontal boundaries arguing over our area, but it is not enough to really pick up the seas because it blows out of the east in the morning, then it starts blowing out of the south, and it kind of goes back out of the west. So because it does not stay blowing strong out of a singular direction for any period of time, it doesn't build up wave heights. So Tuesday looks breezy, yes, but it doesn't look bumpy. It's less than 2 foot, less than 1.5 foot seas. Now Wednesday, it's 2 foot, so it does build up a little bit there Wednesday because it blew out of the east and then it kind of slowly switches out of the west. It's going to kind of peak up those seas a little bit, but 2 foot's not bad at all. It's beautiful. Really, 2 foot's gorgeous compared to how it's been the last few months. But a comparative in this week, Wednesday is a little bumpy, not bad. Tuesday is a little breezy, but not bumpy. And then Thursday looks really good. So I would say your best fishing days this week would be today, tomorrow, and then Thursday and Wednesday is a close second. And then Tuesday is really a close second as well, because as long as you're near shore Tuesday, it's a close second as well. So I would say probably Monday, Thursday are best, Wednesday, Tuesday are secondary, and then potentially as we move into Friday, we're going to get that really strong south wind, and the seas are going to build up because that south wind is going to stay consistent. And then we get the cold front Sunday night. So if that is the case, we have a south wind for almost 3 days. So that's going to blow and build up some good seas. And then we got a strong cold front. So that south wind is prefrontal activity. And then a big north wind Sunday as that cold front comes through. So if that holds true, it'll be a bumpy, breezy weekend, and you really want to try to go fishing midweek, early weekend ahead of that front. So Friday kind of looks a little questionable, but still doable near shore, especially Friday morning. So I would say your Thursday 10-hour trip, your Tuesday 10-hour trip, your Tuesday 39-hour trip. Tomorrow Monday, we've got a super light afternoon half-day trip and a morning trip. So you could do AM, PM half-days tomorrow, get a full day on the boat, and nice light loads and capitalize on those hogfish too. So lots of good options for you this week. And again, only 18 people on Tuesday's 39-hour trip. And you're going to be fishing ahead of a front too. So Tuesday's 39-hour would probably be your best fishing opportunity this coming week, hands down, followed by some of those 10-hour trips. Hopefully you get a chance to take advantage of it ahead of that weather coming this upcoming weekend. Now, let's find out who won our first free giveaway of the night. We've got a 5-hour half day for 2 to give away, a 10-hour all day for 2, a 39-hour trip for 1, and a Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Let's go ahead and start by giving away our 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests goes to lucky winner Justin Burns. Congratulations, Fruitland Park. Justin Burns, you are the lucky winner of our 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. You got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip by texting us your full home address at the bottom of the screen. So full home address, you got to text it to us at the bottom of the screen. A lot of questions about seasons. We're going to get into that too. At least a quick reminder. I feel like we talk about the seasons a lot as well. But first things first, want to share some special news. We are up to four individuals that have gotten the Hubbard's Marina tattoos, and I wanted to showcase those here real quick. We posted this on our supporters page, had a nice long conversation about it, but I wanted to show everybody on the show as well. This is Brian Eakin's tattoo. He did the Hubbard's Marina tattoo on his forearm, and you get basically a little more than $1,000 in trip fare for that. Brian cashed his in for some 10 hours and a 39-hour. This is Glenn. Glenn got his. Beautiful, nice full logo. He's still got to get it touched up. That's just the first run at it, but beautiful. And he's even talking about putting the phone number below it, hardcore, which is awesome. And this one is really cool. This one's Jason's. I like this one, fresh and cool idea. Kind of the same design as Brian did with the Hubbard's Marina and the fish. And kind of the center of the logo without the green background. And I like the shading his guy did. The letters kind of pop. And then this one, I like it. Rick Rogers got a nice one on his calf. Big old tattoo. And we've got a few others that have the tattoo lined up. But we've gotten a lot of questions about it too. So some people kind of wanted to do some different things. The general idea is you have to have Hubbard's Marina in there somewhere. You can add a fish. Someone wants to do Hubbard's Marina, established 1928. So there are some variations that are possible, but the idea is it needs to be pretty large, kind of like those are stretching across the forearm or the calf. And it has to be, again, lower arm, lower leg in order to qualify for those free trip fares. Basically a little bit more than $1,000. We're giving away 2 free 39-hour trips essentially for the Hubbard's Marina tattoo. And if you get it on your face, 3 trips. We up the ante a little bit, and it doesn't have to be as large. So there's that. Still waiting on a face tat. But we have a few people that are talking about maybe getting some more tattoos. So we'll see. That might be next week. We could feature a face tattoo soon, but wanted to show those off. Also, wanted to talk a little bit about voting. We've been asking you guys to help us win best charter boat in the area, and we had the Visit St. Pete Clearwater VSPC voting going on. You guys have really helped us out with that. The voting has closed, so we'll find out who won here in a few weeks, and we'll be sharing that with you. But keep an eye out, because the best in the country voting, the USA Today 10 best voting, we were voted the #1 charter boat in the country, in the United States last year, and we're hoping to win again this year. So we're going to have that coming up soon, so stay tuned for sure. Also, we talked about the warming trend going on. That's something we didn't show you. I did want to show you here, going back to our weather page under fishing trips. Click weather links. Going back to the weather links page, towards the bottom we have the 7-day forecast. Look at this 7-day forecast here for a minute. I want to talk about this quickly because some people get a little confused and a little bit taken aback, and I just want to go over this real fast. Weather, winds, not winds, temperatures is what I was looking for, are already in the mid to lower 80s, and it's really warming up fast. But we get these rain chances, and we have noticed a significant decrease in bookings on days where there's a rain chance. But keep in mind, we're going to just pop over here. So Tuesday has a 50% chance of rain. Look at where the rain is, guys. 1 a.m., 10 p.m. And then Wednesday has a pretty significant chance of rain. There's 1 raindrop, less than a half an inch midday. That's a very scattered rain. And today had a pretty significant rain chance, and it rained this morning But once the sun came out, the rain was pretty much gone. Tomorrow has a rain chance, but it's all late afternoon. And also keep in mind, a lot of times in the state of Florida, it can be raining on one side of the road and not raining on the other. So very scattered showers, very scattered thunderstorms. Remember, this 50% means there's a 50% chance that some part of the viewing area is going to get rain during that 24-hour period. So it could be 100% chance of rain, and you could have a sunny, blue sky, gorgeous day and enjoy the beach or boat without a problem. Because all that means is there's a 100% chance that some part of the viewing area is going to get rain at some point during 24 hours. That's not very good chances you're going to get rain. So don't let rain chances scare you, is basically what I'm trying to communicate. And also, the fact that it's warm. It is warming up fast, so be prepared as you come out in the boat to drink lots of water, stay hydrated, and then also fish are going to start moving around. Like Mike talked about, spring is in the air and fish are getting on the move. It's an exciting time to take advantage of these skyway trends, these fishing trends as they kind of overlap. We're starting to see mackerel at the skyway, a lot of bait at the skyway. We're starting to see a lot of fish move out of the bays. So a lot of action going on, a lot of transition happening. So great opportunities to get out there on the water. Let's get into some questions, right? Let's see. First question of the night. What bait do you recommend shoreline fishing in Indian Rocks Beach? Really any beach. What I would be using right now is shrimp, working shrimp, live shrimp in the beach troughs. And again, I mentioned it earlier, kind of using a really good pair of sunglasses, some really good polarized sunglasses. I personally wear Costa Del Mar, but Smith makes a good pair of glasses. Bahia, Fenor, there's a bunch of different really good polarized lenses. Find one that you like and find a big frame. Remember, mirrored lenses are going to be better. A lot of real quick going into sunglass conversations. We sell Costas in our office, so that's why I wear Costas, and I've just grown up wearing them. But we sell them in our office. So we have a big selection of them. The blue mirror, so like the blue lens with that kind of reflective mirror, is best for high light retention. Basically, if you're in open water like offshore, you want that blue mirrored look to the outside of your lens. So when someone looks at you, your glasses look blue and shiny. That's a blue mirror. Green mirror is a step down. It's more kind of inshore, green water. It's not open blue water, but it does a good job. You can still use green mirror offshore, but it's really not open water. It's kind of a step down. It lets a little bit more light in. You have silver mirror, which is another step down. Then you go into the frames or lenses that are not mirrored. Those are good for low light conditions. So like if you're out on the beach in the morning, a blue mirrored lens might be a little too dark. Whereas you can get some of those like really kind of copperish looking ones, amber looking ones, and you can even get amber mirrored ones, and those are really good for more low light conditions, especially like in the morning, late afternoon on the beach. So you want a good pair of lenses to cruise the beach and look for fish. And when you find the fish, you want to get ahead of them because they're going to be either traveling up the beach or down the beach. You want to get ahead of them and cast a live shrimp in front of them, kind of at a 45-degree angle away from you, down the beach. You never cast perpendicular to the beach straight out unless you want to catch like silver trout or whiting or bonnethead sharks. You cast as far as you can straight out. But you want to really, if you want to catch a good fish, a redfish, a snook, a black drum, a pompano, a flounder even, maybe even a sheep's head cruising the beach, you want to cast at a 45-degree angle away from you, and you're going to be fishing in those troughs. And the trough is what I mean when you're walking out on the beach. How often are you walking out on the beach with your kid and you kind of like trip? Because it's almost like there's a little gully as you walk straight into the Gulf. Those are troughs. They run up and down the beach. They're created by wave action, and they make little highways that run parallel with the beach. And that's what the bait are cruising in, and that's what the big predatory fish are cruising in, and they're looking for those baits. So those little troughs, those little fish highways are what you want your live bait sitting in. So you visually see the fish coming, you'll see what line they're on, and they're going to follow that line down the beach because they're looking for bait. So see them coming, find out what line they're on, then cast way up in front of them and get your bait into that same line that they're cruising on. And they're going to come right up to your bait and they're going to eat it. So on the beach, early morning, before other people are out there swimming in your way, or other people are walking asking you too many questions, early morning on the beach, walking up and down, good pair of glasses, live shrimp. That's how I would fish the beach to answer the question. So hopefully that gives you a good starting point. Let's quickly pop over. Want to make sure we give some shout outs to some star senders that popped in here. Matt La Rochelle, Don Shewitt again, appreciate you, Don. Corey McCluskey with a big 550, thank you, my friend. Richard Harcourt sending some more stars. D Beers with a 1,200 stars, thank you, D. Stephen Woods and Dan Netto again, appreciate y'all with the stars during the show there. All right, so answered one question. Let's see what our next question is. We are scheduled for the 39-hour trip Friday. How do you think it looks for that trip? Well, we kind of went over that earlier. I'm sure that you asked this question probably before we went over the weather. But basically, the weather's not looking so good for this upcoming weekend potentially. So the week weather, Tuesday's weather looks a lot better. So if you have a flexible schedule, what I would suggest doing is calling us tomorrow and switching from the Friday overnight trip to the Tuesday overnight trip, because the Friday overnight trip has like 35, 40 people on it. The Tuesday overnight trip has 18 people on it, and the Tuesday overnight trip has gorgeous weather. And the Tuesday overnight trip, you're going to be fishing before the weather. So everything looks better about Tuesday. Lighter load, less people, better weather, fishing in front of a front, which should be better fishing as well. So better weather, better fishing, less people. Kind of adds up to you should fish Tuesday's 39-hour trip if you have a flexible schedule. I realize not everyone does. Are any tuna being caught on the 39-hour trip? Yes, this is the time of year where we start to see them pretty heavily. Have we been catching tuna? No. We have a shot at them. We should be catching tuna. This is really the time where we start to see them. Generally, at the end of February is normally our biggest push. End of January into February, around the moons, is when we historically have caught the most blackfin tuna, but didn't really see that. So maybe they're waiting until March. Maybe they're waiting for you to get out there. But we should be seeing some tuna. I would not be surprised if we start to see 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 tuna come in on a 39-hour trip. We had one trip. It was a new moon, end of February. I think it was like 40 blackfin tuna were caught. It was crazy a few years ago. Anthony Barnes, appreciate those stars, buddy. Thank you. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have? Seasons. So we had a question about the seasons. Definitely expecting a similar red grouper season to last year. Amberjack season will be September and October, which is news to me and pretty hefty. We found that out from Andy Strelchek last week. Our NOAA Fisheries Southeast Regional Administrator was on the show. If you missed that episode, you missed a really good one. I would highly recommend going back and watching our show that we did on February 25th with Andy Strelchek. But he mentioned amberjack should be September and October. Gag grouper potentially are going to open September 1st and be open for a couple weeks. We'll find out for sure in April what that gag grouper season will look like. Triggerfish are always open March 1st, and then they close for June and July, and then hopefully they'll be open the rest of the year. So that's red grouper, triggerfish, gags, amberjack. Red snapper will be open June for us at Hubbard's Marina, our federal for-hire recreational fishermen on our charter boats and party boats in the Gulf. Our season will be June 1st till about August 24th. pretty confident in that. So that should be our red snapper season. But again, around April, May is when that's finalized. But I'm 99.9999999% sure that it should be June 1st to around August 24th for us at Hubbard's Marina. So those are the seasons. Hopefully that answers your question about what's open. Everything else that I didn't mention is open all the time. Let's see, what other questions do we have? As it loads, Sean Gossier, appreciate those stars, my brother. 750, thank you, my friend. Let's see. What is the likelihood to catch a tuna on the 10-hour trip? Generally, again, kind of as we talked about earlier, when we're hog fishing on the 10-hour trips, we're fishing shallower, around 40, 50, 60, maybe 70 foot of water. So we're not going to see tuna as likely. If we're fishing deeper on a 10-hour trip, targeting those red grouper more, getting closer to that 100-foot mark, you have a pretty decent shot at a tuna. One of the bigger wahoos that we've ever caught was on a 10-hour trip in about 80 foot of water, which was super surprising. We've caught a lot of big blackfin on a 10-hour trip. We've even caught a sailfish on our 5-hour trip before. So never say never. We've caught tuna on the 5-hour half day before. It kind of depends on where that water's at and what those currents are doing. So sometimes we'll have that loop current or one of those big pelagic currents push really close to shore. I remember when I was working on the charter boat at a young age, I was probably like 10, 11, 12 years old. We were trolling for kingfish and mackerel off Indian Rocks off the Long Pier. We were probably 300 yards from shore. I could have swam to the beach. We were not far from shore. And it was one of those years where the loop current had pushed really close to shore. We had flying fish jumping out of the water around the boat, a couple hundred yards from shore, which in Central West Florida is super unique. If you go to like Miami, you see that all the time. You go out and 300-400 yards from the beach, you're in a couple 100 foot of water. Here in Florida, in Central West Florida, we have grouper, snapper, hogfish, all these other fish because we have a big biodiversity because our West Florida shelf gets deep really slowly. So we have a lot of area, a lot of topography, a lot of bottom to hold more species, to hold more numbers of species, and to hold more numbers of individual species. So we have more biodiversity in our area on bottom reef fish, things like hogfish, grouper. That's why Central West Florida is the grouper capital of Florida, grouper capital of the world, because we have more area for these fish to live, hide, breed, and proliferate. But it also means we don't have as good of a pelagic bite close to shore. You got to travel further generally. But sometimes when that loop current pushes in, that blue water gets closer to shore, we start to see those pelagic fish get really close. And that's what's happened in the past. That's what I'm talking about in this story. So I was like 10, 11, 12 years old. Flying fish jumping out of the water. It was really, really strange. We were catching mahi in like 30, 40 foot of water regularly. And we had sailfish coming up and batting our kingfish spoons behind the boats, which was super unique. And that was the first time I'd ever seen a sailfish bill come up and hit a lure. And I didn't know what it was. So, yes. To answer the question, you can catch a tuna on a 10-hour. Is it likely? Not when we're targeting hogfish. When we're targeting red grouper, your chances are going to go up. But you'd have to have a flat line out. So you'd want to have a flat line out to really get one. And you can't always have a flat line out, especially on a 10-hour trip, especially this time of year. We're getting into spring break. There's more people around. So if the boat's a little full, it's tough to put a flat line out. But you can always talk to the captain and crew. And this is a time of year we have flat lines out more often because the kingfish start to show up. So definitely a good chance. Definitely a chance is what I should say. On a 39-hour, you have a good chance. 12-hour extreme, you have a good chance. 10-hour trip, you have a chance. Flounder season is coming for Inshore. Your recommendations, please. I would book a Inshore charter, personally. I'm not an inshore fisherman, so I don't know flounder fishing really, really well. If I wanted to catch a flounder myself, I'd be fishing around the docks or the Johns Pass Bridge, especially the north side of Johns Pass Bridge. All that sand gets a lot of those flounder on those edges and those drop-offs. Fishing a live shrimp on the bottom for pompano, you might catch a flounder. Or book a charter Inshore with Captain Mike Anderson. If you go on our website, hit private charters, hit Inshore, you can find Captain Mike Anderson's phone number and book an Inshore charter with him or one of his team, and they'll put you on the flounder for sure. What is the, I had answered that one. Is it still a good time to catch grouper? Yeah, we catch red grouper right now, scamp grouper, strawberry grouper. There's a ton of grouper to catch. Gag grouper are biting well, but we have to release those. So gag grouper is the one species of grouper that is not open to harvest right now, but we are seeing a lot of those red grouper and a few of those scamp grouper, and then we always see those strawberries throughout the year for sure. What other questions might we have? Are we out of questions already? Wow. I guess it is already 8:30, but we started a little late, so we are going to run a little late. Let's do another giveaway. Let's do our 5-hour half-day trip for 2 guests. 5-hour half-day trip for 2 guests. Lucky winner of the 5-hour half-day for 2 is Gary Smeets. Congratulations, Gary, on that 5-hour half-day trip for 2 guests. You got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip by texting us at the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Let's see, another question, if we can find one. If we can't find one, I did want to mention the right to hunt and fish again. We've mentioned it in past shows. We didn't mention it last show, but coming up November 5th, on the ballot is going to be Amendment 2, but it is going to be the right to hunt and fish, and you're going to have to vote yes to the right to hunt and fish. You should at least want, hopefully, to vote yes to the right to hunt and fish. This would amend our Constitution. We would be, I think, either the 23rd or 26th, I can't remember off the top of my head, either 23rd or 26th state to ratify the right to hunt and fish to our Constitution. So it would be a constitutional right in the state of Florida to fish and hunt, which would be huge. Oh, so look, it says it right there. 23 states have the right to hunt and fish. So we would be the 24th. I knew I was close. So it is going to be a huge, huge thing that we really want to try to help secure. Almost 20% of our wildlife corridor was already funded by conservation dollars, and we want to continue to build that wildlife corridor. We want to continue to secure these wildlife easements, and we want to preserve and protect clean water, clean land, and access to our fisheries. And this helps us to do this. This doesn't subvert fisheries managers. This doesn't subvert the system. This helps to secure it for future generations. And actually, technically, if we felt you were mismanaging the fish, you could technically sue because you have the right to hunt and fish, and they're taking that away from their mismanagement. So this actually strengthens a lot of what we do, and would help conservation and preservation of access to the overall industry. So think about it, look it up. Josh will drop that link in the chat, the right to hunt and fish. That's all fla.org /R2FH, allfla.org /R2FH. But Josh dropped it in the chat there. So check it out. Right to hunt and fish. We'll post that on the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page as well. What is your favorite redfish lure? That is a good question. I don't target redfish a lot just because they're kind of more flats, oyster bars. If I'm going to fish inshore, I fish around John's Pass. So I use mirror lures, the mirror lure Miradine for the Snook. I would say my favorite, if I was going to go into the back bay and target a redfish, it would be a DOA shrimp. DOA shrimp is probably, if I'm throwing a soft plastic, probably my go-to, just because that's how I was raised, right? Like my dad used what my grandfather used, and when my grandfather was around, it was a DOA shrimp, a mirror lure Miradine, and a mirror lure top dog. And in my tackle box, when I started out inshore fishing from kayaks, and I bought my first little skiff when I was 8 years old, I had a tackle box and was loaded with different assorted sizes, colors, and weights of DOA shrimp. That was like my go-to. A chartreuse DOA shrimp is what I was throwing like 90% of the time. It was crazy. And then root beer DOA shrimp, I started mixing that in. And then the glow in the dark, the white DOA shrimp, the white with the red head, and then the mirror lure Mirrodine. But back then, not many years ago, but when I was younger, there wasn't as many cool colors as there are now. Now mirror lure Mirrodines come in a billion different shades and colors, and they have even the skinned graphics, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to choose from. But I like the pinfish one. They sent me, Eric Bachnick, the main guy behind Mirror Lure, sent me a box of some of their new skinned ones, and the pinfish one was bad to the bone. It really worked well until I lost it to a big snook in John's Pass, but we won't talk about that. So I would say I keep it pretty basic, but there's a lot of good soft plastics out there. Salt Strong has a line of lures that seem to really have a good following, the paddle tails. I just don't get into that kind of soft plastic game because I don't have the jig head assortment. But Roggy's Rigs, our good buddy Rob at the Marina, makes our banana jigs, and now we have a full line of soft plastics in the office too that he made for us. So some really cool soft plastics that we sell at Hubbard's Marina now from Roggy's Rigs. So check that out for sure as well. Now, let's do a swag pack, and then we did have another question come through here, and we can end on that question. So let's find out who won our Hubbard's Marina. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say, too. Okay, perfect. Who won our Hubbard's Marina swag pack? Hubbard's Marina swag pack lucky winner is from Clearwater, Florida. Congratulations. Fatim? That's what we're going with? All right. I like it. That's what I was going to guess, honestly. Great minds think alike. But congratulations, Fatim. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and your t-shirt size that you want included in that Hubbard's Marina swag pack to the phone number on the screen, and we'll get that out to you. Congrats on the win. All right. You mentioned you'll start trolling for Spanish mackerel on the way out in the 5 and 10 hour trips. How fast are you going when you're trolling for them, and what would we use? Great question. We are going to be trolling anywhere between 7 to 9 knots. We're going to be trolling a number 1 or number 2, most of the time number 1 planer, and then about 14 to 18 feet of around 40 to 60 pound test, generally 60 pound test. With a snap swivel on the back of that planer, then about 14 to 16 feet of 60-pound test mono, and then a snap swivel and a king spoon, a drone spoon from Mirror Lure. Drone, but owned by Mirror Lure. So the drone spoons work really, really well. You can sense a pattern there. They've been around a long time, Mirror Lure has, and they work really well. So recommend it. Definitely. It's worked well for us. Now, what color do you use is the next question you're going to ask. We typically troll silver, blue, green, pink. Those are kind of the main colors we troll. Smokey really likes the pinks. Other guys really like the blues. Sometimes the red. We do troll red as well. Sometimes the red works. One day it's one. Generally, what I would do is I would put 2 or 3 out with different colors, and then you pay attention which one's working best, and then you slowly transition other rods to that color. And then also distance. Some days it's that one that's really close to the boat that's getting more fish, and it might not have anything to do with the color. So distance from the boat and color is what we pay attention to, and then we kind of pick up on the trend. Hey, that one's working. That's what we stick to. That's what we tell everybody, and we stick to that until it changes, which it does change from week to week. Do you recommend using a Penn spinning reel 6500? I don't know if he's referring to trolling or not. Not for trolling. You don't want to troll with a spinning reel, no matter what a spinning reel it is. You can't troll with a spinning reel, but you could use that style of reel for bottom fishing on like a 5-hour half day, 10-hour all day. Maybe doing some flat lining on longer range trips, but bottom fishing with that reel wouldn't be a good idea on anything longer than a 10-hour, maybe a 12-hour night, as well, but that would be about it. All right. Dinner Diaz. Dinner Diaz. I think it's Diaz. that is coming up on Fox 13 this week. So hopefully you guys can join us for that and catch it. We'll try to post it to our social media page too, but it's going to be live on Fox 13. I think this week, Thursday, we'll find that out and announce it for you guys. But I did a cooking show. So they even mistakenly called me chef a couple times, which I am far from. But we did a cooking show, and ironically, Josh, the host of the cooking show, is a chef, and he was a big Duke's mayonnaise fan. So we had to fight a little bit over that.
I would have started, oh, excuse me, I would have started yelling like Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, I threw it across the kitchen. No,
Did you
not
wear
really.
your mayo shirt?
I should have. I didn't realize that he was a Duke's mayonnaise guy until I was already there.
I would have popped it
Yeah.
out. The buttons would have came off.
Yeah, if I knew that, I would have worn our Hubbard's Marina Hellman's mayonnaise shirt. But definitely didn't know that going into it. But he did say the reason he likes Duke's mayonnaise is because it has a little
It's
bit,
flavorless, and you can add whatever flavor you want to it.
and he's younger, and he likes that new school approach. He was like, I understand that your grandmother only said Hellman's mayonnaise because that's an old school recipe, and back then they didn't have crap like Duke's mayonnaise around. They everything was better back then, right? They made it. We talk about it all the time. They just don't make it like they used to, and, you know. The mayonnaise wars continue is all I'm saying. So definitely tune in. Don't miss the Dinner DA's show coming up on Fox 13 this week. We go to Don's Dock. We pick out some fish, some stone crabs, some oysters. We take them back to Fox 13 studios and cook them up with the family secret recipes and kind of share some insight into that. So it's pretty cool. So I'm excited for that show to come out and air and share that with you guys. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to our Bartow Ford event coming up March 26th. Captain Lisa Fitzgerald, the only angler to be inducted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. Captain Lisa Fitzgerald herself will be there doing a seminar. That is 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford, March 26th. So hopefully you can join Captain Lisa Fitzgerald, Captain Mike Anderson for that event. It's going to be a good time for sure. Free food from Silver Ring Cafe, free giveaways from Bull Bay Rods, Engel Coolers, Yamaha, and, of course, real animals, too. So hopefully you'll join for that. I think that's all I had announcements-wise. Don't forget to check out the Fisheries Management page. We've been adding to it a lot. Let me just show you on our website here real quick how to navigate there. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com and you hit fishing trips, scroll down to more info. So hit fishing trips, hit more info. It is the first one, Fisheries Science and Management. That brings you to this awesome page Josh created. It's got all the videos, including top front and center, that video from last week where we had Andy Strelchek, the head of NOAA Fisheries. We had this video from a few weeks ago where we talk about how Fisheries Science and Management works. Then we have a few topic videos. And then down here at the bottom are a bunch of helpful links, like where do you sign up for the Marine Recreational Education Program, how do you monitor the ACLs or allowable catch levels for different species, how you join the email lists, how the Gulf Council sign up works, where their upcoming meetings are at, a bunch of helpful info, all right there on the Hubbard's Marina website page. So check it out. Hit fishing trips, hit more info, hit Fisheries Science and Management. With that, we've covered everything. The Bartow Ford, we covered it. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see you guys next week. Remember, every Sunday night right here for 7:30 p.m. for an hour, we talk fishing. Then we pop over to the Supporters After Show at 8. We're going to shoot for 8:50, but we might be a few minutes late. So join us for the Supporters After Show in the Supporters Group. And then hopefully we'll see you guys out there on the water this week. It looks beautiful. Tuesday's 39-hour going to be a good one. We'll see you next week for another episode, and let's find out who won our 39-hour trip. Remember, don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. Don't forget to like, comment, share things that you see come up. We appreciate it. All right. Let's see who won a 39-hour fishing trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour trip for one goes to Michelle Johns. Congratulations, Michelle, on that lucky win from Dallas, Georgia. Awesome, awesome. Well, hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family. We hope to see you out on the water this week. Lots of good dolphin trips, island trips, shelling trips, and much more, of course, besides fishing too. So come out and join us, and hopefully we'll see you on the water. We'll see you next week for another episode every Sunday night for an hour. Don't forget to tell your friends. Have a good one, y'all.